Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Alexandra and today I am here with you for the Lunch and Learn series. I'm going to share my screen now with you. Today's topic, I'm sure everyone is aware, is going to be about marketing. So I'm going to share with you my framework on how you can take control of your marketing activity. It's part of the Lunch and Learn series. The recording is going to be available for 4 weeks, starting tomorrow, I think. So if you miss something, you can go back. And the slideshow is also going to be sent to you if you request it from Angie in the follow-up email. You can go to the republicofwork.com website as well to check recordings of previous sessions, if you will, for more inspirational content. Angie is also going to send you my contact details, and I'm going to share them with you later on as well for me to answer any questions that we don't get to through the talk. If you want to ask any questions, you can ask them anytime in the chat. I see Ronan is already firing away with messages. Just ask them away, and if I don't get to them during the talk, then we'll get to them at the end. And if I don't get to them because I have so much to talk about, then just email them to me and I'll make sure to reply to you. If you want, you can turn on your camera just for me to see, but it's okay if you don't. I know that some people will be having lunch, so yeah, just if you want. So without further ado, let's go into talking about marketing. It's just a 5-step framework that I come up to because I've noticed that people sometimes are a bit jumbled about just posting every day and don't really think about the strategy behind it. So it's a way for you to go through all the steps and creating the foundation for your activity to really bring results to you. It's an overview, so it's not like everything that you need to know about all of this because I can't give you a degree in an hour. So yeah. So let's start about talking a bit about me. I am Alexandra and I've never thought about working in marketing. Some of you may share the view that I shared before I got into it, which is that it was useless, unethical and materialistic. It didn't feel like an industry I ever wanted to get into. But then I got into it through a series of opportunities and I found out that marketing doesn't have to be any of that. So for me, marketing is a way that we can support small businesses. It's very important to bring sales to those businesses. And so therefore it's very, very important for our economy and for everyone's lifestyle. So that's why I'm very passionate about it. It can also further industries. And since I'm passionate about arts and culture, I use it specifically to spread art and culture to the main public. Marketing doesn't have to be materialistic or unethical. You don't have to push things into people's face. It can be about introducing the right tool, the product or service that you have to the person that is already looking for your product. So you are helping them improve their lives by sharing with them your product or your service. So that's my view in terms of marketing, what I like about marketing, and the reason why I do what I do, and I am doing this presentation to you today. My business is called Alexandra Pedro Marketing. We've been in business since 2018, so 3 years now. We focus on organic marketing, which means that we don't do ads. We just do like SEO, social media, that kind of stuff. And we provide services for those who want to outsource, but we also provide free resources like this talk. This talk is not for me to promote my services in any way. It's for me to give you resources for you to take control of your marketing and do it yourself. The framework that I'm going to share with you is the framework that I use with my clients as well. They start from one end and we go through all of it together. So here it is. It's just 5 steps. It's in the form of a pyramid because you start at the bottom and you don't move up until you have the foundation ready to move on to the next level. Usually people get stuck in the ongoing actions part of marketing, so the posting and all that, and forget to think about what are their goals, what are they posting for. When you know why you are doing something, it's easier to create it in a way that will achieve those results. So I always make sure that I know what we are working for before I start producing content away, which is actually a fun part, but it only comes in the end. So the framework starts with audit and research, which is just collecting information about your business and your environment. Then we go into creating goals for your business in terms of marketing, and also deciding how you are going to reach those goals. And this takes a long time because you need to research how people reach those goals that you have. But yeah, you should do that before you move on. They are together because you can't really benefit of audit and research or goals and strategy without also doing the other. They feed into each other. So I always recommend doing both of those before you move on to brand, which is the next step, just making sure that you are putting your best foot forward always. Then setup and optimization is about setting up your website, your social media, your email, all of that, so that your brand is consistent throughout and so that they are helping you reach your goals. I'm going to get a bit into detail there, but just only about website and social media because of time constraints. And then we get into the ongoing management, which is just the posting, the sending newsletters, the writing blog posts, that kind of stuff. That only comes after everything is set up, everything is put together, and you know what you're doing and why you are doing it. Before I get into audit and research, which is the first section, I'm going to share with you just some overarching advice that applies to everything that I'm going to talk to you about. So always keep this in mind. The first is that you should take one step at a time. Don't rush into the next step without doing the first well. We can't really focus on several things at the same time, and you won't know how to do these new concepts that you are going to be learning. SEO, accessibility, whatever it is you're learning. So just take one step at a time and take your time to learn what you are learning and do it properly, and then move on to the next one. It's more manageable, it's less overwhelming if you just do it one step at a time. In terms of whether you should do it yourself or outsource, I know a lot of people ask that question. There's no right answer. I'd say that if you have the money to outsource and you don't really like doing marketing, then you should definitely outsource it to spend more time doing the things that you like within your business. If you don't have the money to outsource, or you just like doing it yourself, then do it yourself. And if you have some money to outsource and you like to do some things and they don't drain you as much, then outsource the things that drain you more so that you have more energy to focus on the other aspects of your business. And also outsource things that are more technical, more challenging in terms of like needing to know details and proper techniques. Like content is easier maybe for you to create, but then when it comes to SEO or website design, it's a bit harder, so you can outsource that. And the last overarching advice is just to write everything down. In all these steps, you are going to be creating guidelines, you are going to be creating goals and all that. Just write everything down so that you remember it in a year's time, and so that other people working with you also know what your thought process was and what your decisions were and can abide by them as well. In terms of writing down, I'm not going to give you like tools for you to write down. You can do slideshows, you can do spreadsheets, you can do text documents, you can do pen and paper, you can do note-taking apps, whatever you want. But the important is that the system is there for you to write things down and don't forget them later on. Okay, so let's go on to the first step. It is audit and research. This is the step where you collect information, you learn where you are, you learn where other people are, and then take that information to create your goals later on. The first part is the audit, obviously, which is about collecting information about your business specifically. We are trying to find your strengths and we are trying to find your weaknesses. In terms of audit, in terms of how to do it, it's just basically looking inwards, looking at the documentation that you have. If you have a larger business, you'll probably have to ask other people within your business for some of the information that you need to, but it's just more about researching within yourself and your business. I divide it into 4 parts, but it's just the way that I divide it. I'm sure there are lots of different ways to divide it. The first is just getting to know your business. So getting to know the history of your business, how you came to be where you are, the people within your business and the goals that you have for your business as well. It's very important when you are creating marketing goals to know the business goals as well and try to fit into those. Then in terms of your products and services, just knowing their features, their benefits, their performance, the pricing, all that, so that when you are creating content and all that, you have that information available to you. In terms of your current customers and clients, it could be a whole talk about this, but it's basically collecting their major characteristics of your current customers and clients, just having a picture of what they look like now. That should include at least their spending needs, their spending patterns, their needs, their budget, their size, and their industry at the minimum, and then collecting a list of current customers and clients as well, for you to have an idea of what they look like. At this stage, I also collect the sales funnel just to see how the customers interact with your business, how they get to your business, and how you push them through until you make the sale and they return to your business as well. It's important to do that, to understand that during the audit part. And then finally, in terms of the audit, just taking a look at your past marketing efforts, what you've done that worked, what you've done that didn't work, so that you can learn from it going forward. And it's also important when you are doing the marketing audit to take a look at the people that you have within your business, or even if you are a smaller business, just you, with what people you have in your life that maybe could help you with marketing, so that you can make the best of their talent going forward. And then we go into research. So this is just about researching. It's like the audit, we are trying to collect information, but about external areas of not your business, but of the world that you work on. So we are trying to find opportunities and threats, opportunities that you can make the best of and threats that you need to minimize. It's divided into 3 parts. We have the market research, where you are looking at the size of your market, what areas have bigger sales and what areas have less sales, maybe find new markets that you can tap into. And also taking a look at the current trends. I don't advise following trends, but at least be aware of them. And if they align with your business, then you can tap into them as you want. And then the competitor research, I'm sure most of you will have heard of it if you are in business. The competitor research is important for all types of business development areas. In terms of marketing, it's very important just to see especially where they are in terms of marketing and the areas that they are lacking, just to see what areas you should maybe focus on more. In terms of how to do the competitor research, you start by choosing the competitors. I always choose 3, but you can go for 2 if you prefer. I choose one that is at the level of the business, so one that you are trying to surpass, one that is at the next level that you want to be at, so that's one that you are trying to catch up with, and then one that is the aspiration, so that is the end goal, the ultimate goal that you are trying to achieve. They're already there and you are trying to get there as well. Sometimes it's hard to find one of those categories, but just find one that's close enough to it. In terms of how to do it, it's similar to the audit in terms of the topics that you are going to want to cover, but you will probably find less information because in the audit, it's just your business, you know everything about it. In terms of the competitors, you have to scramble about online trying to find everything, maybe buy from them just to see how it works. It's okay if you don't have information. It is a process, it's gradual. It's okay if next year when you do your competitor research again, you'll find more information. It's okay to leave a lot of stuff blank the first time you do your competitor research. This is also a great time to find, in terms of numbers, where they are on social media and all that. You should have done that as well for you in the audit part, in the marketing efforts section, so that you can compare with them next year. But don't focus too much on numbers, but it's good to see from a clinical lens just how it is, but don't worry too much about them. In terms of your ideal customers and clients, in terms of research, it is part of research, because you need to look outside and see which people are interested in what you are selling, but it's also about reflecting and what kind of customers and clients you want to work with. It includes basically the same that the current customers and clients section included, apart from the sales funnel, because you in marketing, you don't take care of the sales funnel as much as other areas of your business, the sales and all that. So yeah, once you have done your audit and your research, it's time to put everything together to make it easier to read, because you've collected a bunch of information and you're going crazy with everything you've learned. You're feeling so inspired from what you've researched from other people, and you found stuff that you need to work on. So you put everything into a SWOT analysis. So the strengths and weaknesses come from the audit, the opportunities and threats come from the research. Don't focus too much on the right side, the weaknesses and threats. Focus on the strengths and opportunities, making the best of them, highlighting them when you are creating your content and creating the copy for your website. But weaknesses and threats is still important to take a look at, just to minimize them to the best of your abilities. And that could be by outshining them with your strengths, just pushing them to the side, or it could be just improving your skills and your systems and your processes so that they stop being a weakness and threat and move on to the strengths and opportunities. Okay, we're done with the audit and research. Again, if you have any questions, leave them in the chat. And if you don't have any questions, I'll move on to the goals and strategy. So for the goals and strategy, we take what we've learned from the audit and research, and we start thinking about goals. You've probably started thinking about them while you are doing your audit and research. It comes to mind, oh, I want to focus on this more because this competitor is doing this, and I really think that would be cool for me to do. But now it's the time where you actually think about them, sit down, spend time just thinking about how you are going to achieve them and creating the strategy. The framework that I'm going to share, the format that I use for strategy, can be used for all kinds of goals, business, personal, marketing goals. And it's the center, your goals are the center of your strategy plan, but it also includes a few other things that I'm going to share with you later on. But the goal is to create a document where you have all your goals and strategy, and everyone can come back to and see and refer to in the future. So this is the strategy format that I use. It's divided into 4 parts. The first is obviously just writing down the goal. The second is writing down why you want to achieve that goal. This is just a goal that I had for 2021, but it's basically the reason why you feel inspired to achieve this goal and why it will further your business as well. The third is your target. So it's the smallest bit of your goal. So for example, in this case, the goal was just host 1 free workshop in 2021, but the target, and therefore the target is just host 1 free workshop per year. But if it were host 4 free workshops in 2021, then the target would be host 1 free workshop per quarter. It's easier to think about when it's smallest instead of just thinking about 1 free workshop in 4 workshops in 2021. That's a bit more overwhelming. In terms of the tactics, it's just a list of steps that you need to take to achieve that goal. So just creating a list in this case, I didn't do it very well for this goal. It had more, but I had to summarize it for you. They are very big tactics, but usually you'd have a longer list of smaller tactics to focus on. But I'll go into detail into each of these parts now. So in terms of how to set your goals, first you need to choose them. In terms of tips for you to choose them, I have 2. The first is to choose goals that are good return on investment. Return could be anything. It doesn't have to just be about sales and money. It can definitely be about sales and money, but it can also be about brand recognition, about reviews, about habits that you want to create in terms of posting a certain amount of posts per week or whatever it is. The return that you want to get from it. In terms of investment, it's about your time, your money, and your energy, because sometimes creative work takes a lot of energy from you, and it may not give you enough back, so then it's not good return on investment. So it's not just money that we're talking about. It energy and time is very important when you own a business as well, because you want to be able to spend it elsewhere. You're always spread thin. The second tip when you are choosing your goals is just making sure they are realistic, that you actually can achieve them. Don't set too big of a goal, but also don't set too big of a group of goals, because sometimes each goal can be realistic, but when you put them all together, it's too much. You can't really do it in that time frame. So make sure that the individual goals are realistic and the totality of the goals is realistic as well. And something that I've learned the hard way is choosing realistic goals that depend on you. That will make it easier for you to choose a realistic goal if it only depends on you or people you really trust. And it also reduces frustration going forward, because when the goal depends on someone else and that person doesn't meet your expectations, it can make you feel out of control and make it a bit harder on you. So I try to choose goals that mainly depend on you or people that I can actually trust and I know they will get the job done. So when you've chosen your goals, you've created the list of your goals and all that, prioritize them in terms of the importance or how quickly you can achieve them, how much return you'll get from them. It can also be in terms of deadline. A goal can need to come first because it's about January and you're setting them up in December, for example. So prioritize them in the order that you want to achieve them, however you want to do that, and then focus on the top goal before you move on to the next one. So if you have 3 goals, you focus on the number 1 goal first, and then when you are on track to achieve that, you can start working on the second, and when you are on track to achieve the second, then you can start working on the third. It's okay to work on several goals at the same time, but only when your most important goal, your top goal, is on track to be achieved. And finally, and just something, it could be on the overarching advice as well, just stay flexible and stay kind to yourself, because 2020 you had all these goals, I'm sure, and then life hit and you had to change and you had to focus on stuff that you didn't think you would have to focus on. So it's important for you to stay flexible and be open to opportunities that come your way and change your goals according to what goes on. And also stay kind to yourself in terms of hurdles that may come along and that may make you not achieve a goal. The goals are just your compass, but it's okay if you don't achieve them, as long as you're doing your best, which you most certainly are. That's fine. That's all one can ask for. And it's fine if you don't achieve your goals. In terms of how to set up your goals, I also want to show you how I think about when I write them. I make sure that they are specific, measurable, and timed. And this is because it helps me know when I've achieved them. If they are not one of these, then I won't know that I achieved them, that I can tick them off my list. And I think the process of ticking them off your list is very important, because it allows you to focus on something else, focus on the next thing and stop thinking about that one. Now, why do I include the why in my strategy format that I told you before? It's basically because at the start in December, when you set your goals, you're very excited. You can see the big picture. You can see 2021 rolling out before you and it's so good. But then you come like a couple months later and everything is cloudy. You can't see where you're going. You can't see why you are doing what you're doing. When you look back and you look at what you've written in December, when you could see the road ahead, it's easier to keep going, trust the process until you reach the goal. And I break the goals down into targets, because it's sometimes overwhelming to see the combination of everything you want to do in a year. It's really hard sometimes. When you just focus on the small bit that you want to achieve today, that's easier to look at than the big picture. So for example, if you set a goal for yourself that includes posting 1 Instagram post every day for a year, it's very overwhelming to think, I'm going to have to post 365 posts in a year. That's overwhelming. But when you think that today you just have to post 1 post, so you need to create the image, the caption, and then reply to the emails, that's easier to think about, just thinking of the small bit. This is why I do the tactics as well, the small steps, just easier for us to focus on and not feel overwhelmed. Overwhelm is a great source of procrastination, so as much as you can, avoid it and make it small and manageable. Which ties nicely onto this slide, which is about how to implement your different steps, your different tactics that you decided for each goal. Make sure they are small steps. Again, not to feel overwhelmed, just focus on the small step, do it right, and then go on to the next one. It's easier if they are small. It's easier if you get to Friday and you have like a free afternoon. You've done everything that you need to do that week. Good on you. And now you can go to your goals list and your steps list, your tactics list, and you can choose one and say, okay, I can get this done in a couple hours, so I'm going to do it. It's easier to do it that way than have a tactic that takes 3 days and you have to think, oh, I'm going to start this, but I can't finish it until next week. So it's easier to schedule it into your calendar if there are small steps. And then tying in again, schedule each tactic as soon as you decided them. So when you are creating your goals in December, you are already scheduling each tactic for the rest of the year. So it's easy to forget, because if you are like me, you'll have way too many goals for a year and you'll be focusing on the top ones, but then you'll forget the bottom ones. So it's easier to schedule them in, and if you can schedule each tactic, as at least schedule review sessions to review your goals and schedule the rest of the tactics that you couldn't schedule at the beginning of the year. And finally, just stay flexible, again, not only with your goals, with which goals you want to achieve, but also with which tactics you're going to take to achieve those goals. Because when you set those goals, if you are talking about marketing, you are not a marketer, you probably don't know how to achieve them. You're going to write the tactics that you think will work, but while you are doing the goal, while you are doing the tactics to achieve the goal, you'll probably come across better tactics to achieve the same goal that will save you some time, that will work best. So stay flexible and delete the tactics that you want to replace and replace them. Just stay flexible and stay on top of your game and just keep learning and keep improving your skills, and trust that. So I told you that in the end of this goals and strategy section, we have a document that we take home. So it could be as a text document, it could be a slideshow. I usually do text documents, and it includes the goals and strategy as the main point of it, because that's a summary of what you're going to do next year. But I also like to include some other things for reference for me and for others. So I always include a summary of the audit and research done. That should always include at least the competitor research, the ideal customers and clients as well. Those two always need to be there. And then I do the list of tactics that we've decided for the goals, but divided by frequency. So I divide them into daily, weekly, monthly, and that's easy. So tasks that you need to do every day, tasks that you need to do every week, tasks that you need to do every month. That's easy for you to think about them, to schedule them into your calendar as well. So I always like to do those lists as well in my strategy document. And I always include the tools that I'm going to use. So that could be the social media platforms that you're going to use, the video editing tool that you're going to use, whatever it is, the office suite that you're going to use. And then the budget, so how much money you'll have to spend and what you're going to spend it on. That's good to know from the beginning of the year, just so that you don't run out of money mid-year, and so that you don't have too much money at the end of the year that you didn't spend because you didn't know it was there. Okay, so we're done with the bottom, the foundation of everything. Now you know where you are, you know where you are going to go to, and you know what you are going to do to get there. And that's when you start creating stuff. That's when now you start creating the brand guidelines that people will refer to when they start creating the website, the social media, the newsletter, all of that. Thank you, Anna. So if you don't have any questions, I'm going to move on to the brand. So in terms of brand, I always create a document. So I have the strategy document that is the foundation for the goals that you will achieve each year and how you're going to achieve them. And then you have the brand guidelines, which is just the base. Okay, you're feeding my ego. Thank you, Rowan. Again. So, and then the brand guidelines are just the base for how people will portray your brand. You and other people that work with you, how they will portray your brand. They are a document, and I'm going to show to you what it includes. But before that, let's talk about what brand is, in case you're not completely sure about it. So your brand is not what you put out there. It is about how others perceive what you put out there. It is out of your control for the most part. You can't really decide what people will think about you, but you can put your best foot forward. You can try to portray yourself in the way that you want to be perceived. So for example, this is a photo of me. It can be perceived in many different ways. It could be perceived as I am a fun person because I'm laughing, I'm into nature because I'm in a forest, or it could be perceived as I am sloppy and I am careless because I'm barefoot in a ground filled with twigs. Since I am all of this, I don't mind putting this image out there because I know that whatever someone will think about it, it's probably right. So I put it out there. But if I didn't want people to perceive me as one of these, then I would probably not put it out there. So when you are creating your brand, you can choose what you put out there, and you can think about a bit, not too much, don't obsess over it, what people will think about what you will put out there, and see if it aligns with the kind of brand that you want to be known as. So that's where brand guidelines come into play, because when you create your brand guidelines, that document that everyone can refer to, you make sure that everything that you put out there aligns with them. You don't have to be saying yes or no to every single content that is put out there. If you are outsourcing it, you know that they will be referring to the brand guidelines and that it's going to match what you want to be known as. So the brand development, that is creating the brand guidelines, basically, I divided into 3 parts. I've heard this way back, and I don't know way back, 3 years maximum, but I don't know where it comes from. I think I've changed it a lot since I've heard it, but yeah, it includes the core of your brand, the message, and the image of your brand. First, start with the core and then move on to the other 2. The core is basically, I'm going to show you each of them, but the core is what determines everything else, what everything else you do and say and post is determined by the core. And then the message is how you sound and what you say. And the image is what you look like, obviously. So in terms of developing your brand core, divide it into 3 parts. For me, they are the most important. Sometimes it has more, but for me, these are sufficient and the most important. It includes the values, so what you and your actions stand for. For Alexandra Pedro Marketing, for example, our values are innovation, organic reach, and privacy. So everything that I do, everything that I say, I try to remember those values and make sure that it aligns with those values. So I'm not doing stuff that don't align with them. Basically, I try to focus on them. And it's easy for me because I chose values that really align with me and who I am, so it's easy for me to follow them. But if I ever outsource something to someone else, I want them to follow those values as well. So that's why I want them to be written down for that person to be able to follow those values too. In terms of your mission, some people use it as a marketing tool. I don't, but I use it as a very good tool to help me decide what I want to do. The mission is what you want to achieve. It's your ultimate goal. I create it the same way that I create my other goals. It has a why, it has the target, it has the steps. It is the ultimate goal that you want to achieve with your business. You can share it with people, or you cannot share it with people. You can have a fake mission online if you prefer, but the mission is the ultimate goal that you want to achieve with your business. And the purpose is basically why you want to achieve the mission. If you've done your mission the same way that I showed you in terms of the goals, then you'll probably have the why there already, but it helps you again remember why you want to achieve it, what's your purpose, and it helps other people that come into your business to understand why they are doing what they are doing, and to decide, okay, should I publish this piece of content? Does it align with the values? Does it further us? Does it get closer to the mission? And does it align with our purpose as well? It helps them visualize and decide if they should or should not do something. So once you have your brand core, it's time to move on to your brand message. I'm getting tired. I need to drink some water. Sorry. So the brand message is what you sound like, but it's also what you say. Even though the core will be a better way for you to decide what to say, the brand message, you'll create some things that will help you write down stuff, whatever it is later on. So the first question when you get to brand message, you're trying to decide how you're going to sound like. So ask yourself, what do you want to sound like? What do you want your business to sound like more specifically? And that's going to be your tone of voice. And it could be whatever. It could be formal, kind, funny, enthusiastic. Most certainly, if you're a small business, it's going to match you. So like I'm now talking the way that I talk, so I'm not putting up a facade, and that's easier to do. But again, when someone else comes into your business, when you have a tone of voice set, it's easier for them to align with your brand. None of this is right, none of this is wrong. You can sound however you like, maybe not mean, but however the rest, however you like. Just you may need to adapt it according to the platform that you're using. We all know that TikTok is more relaxed, and then LinkedIn is a bit more formal. You may need to adapt it slightly, but my advice would be not to adapt it too much, just to stay consistent and show people that you are being authentic, and it's not just a tactic for that specific platform to get followers on that platform. So try to stick to your tone of voice as much as possible, so that people see you as trustworthy and authentic. Once you've decided your tone of voice, there are 4 other steps in creating your brand message. They are basically the 3 first is just about collecting information that will help you create individual elements and templates, and creating your copy for your website and everything else. So the unique selling points are the first part that you need to think about. It's for, imagine a social media manager creating content for your social media, and someone asks them something about your services. And if they have the list of unique selling points and the list of key information about your products and services, it's easier for them to reply with accurate information instead of going back to you. So it's about having everything written down so that that person can refer to and not always have to go back to you. And the same for you, not having to go through all your documents to find information, have everything there. Okay, I need to stick. So unique selling points, finding the best things about your business, highlighting them every step of the way. The key messages could be whatever. For me, for example, it is logical versus creative. I use that concept a lot when I am writing things down. So your key messages could be kindness as a top priority, whatever it is. It's just taglines that you use over and over again. And then the key information is key information about your products and services. So that includes the description of your products and services. It includes their benefits, their features, and the way that they are delivered. That's very important information for everyone to be aware of when they're talking about your business. Once you have all of this, it's time to focus on the individual elements and templates. So just starting to write things down. So it includes choosing your name, choosing your tagline, creating your pitches when you are networking, creating your email signatures, email templates, origin story, those individual elements and templates that you are going to use over and over again, you can create them before you start publishing things out there, so that it becomes easier later on when you are replying to a message or an email. You have a template to refer to, and you don't always have to write it from scratch. It's easier when things start to pile up, when your business starts to rocket. So in terms of your brand image, you can do it before or after your brand message. I like to do after. Since I'm sure most of you will not be a designer, I'd recommend you to start with a mood board. Even for designers, many use it. Start with a mood board where you collect a bunch of images that you think may look a bit like the type of business that you want to look like. Collect all of them into your mood board. It could be digitally, it could be printing in paper as well. It could be in a tool like Canva, I know a lot of people use, or it could be an open source tool like GIMP, whatever it is that you choose. Just put all those images that you found that you think would align with your business together, and you'll start to see patterns most likely. So you'll start to see that colors or fonts or styles of pictures come up again and again. And that's when you start to choose your brand image, what you want to look like, the individual elements that you want to use in your brand image. So in terms of the pictures that you choose for your mood board, I would choose portraits, landscape, offices, buildings, like interior decoration, interior design. Oh, I'm almost done with my time and we're so behind. Fonts that you see in the quotes that you find online, screenshots of social media, screenshots of websites, all of that compiled into your mood board to give you a clear idea of what you want your business to look like, your online presence to look like. And then when you have your mood board, you go on to deciding the individual elements. So deciding your style, it could be clean and minimalist, it could be urban, it could be more cozy, more country style, more cartoony, whatever the style is. It's very subjective. Choosing your colors, always go for a dark color, a light color, and a pop color at least. I have 2 pop colors, as I'm sure you've noticed. Looking at your mood board, you'll probably be able to see a few colors that you choose over and over again. Go for those. And then your fonts, at least one simple font to use in text, and then you could have a more stylistic font for your headings if you prefer. In terms of your key themes and subjects, it could be, for example, forest could be a key theme that you use a lot. And then, for example, fire could be, or flame could be a subject that you use a lot as well. So you'd use it over and over again in your individual elements and templates. So when you have the number 2 things, the orange bits that I told you about, you move on to creating your individual elements and templates, and that includes your logo. It includes cover images for a variety of places. It includes icons if you want to use those as well, social media image templates as well that you can use over and over again with different content inside them. So you can do those before you move on to the next step as well, just to make sure that they align with your brand. Okay, I'm a bit behind, so I'm just going to crack on. No time for questions. So in terms of setup and optimization, that's when you finally start to create stuff that other people will see. So far, you've been creating stuff in the back end for you and your collaborators to know what they are doing. You have your strategy document, you have your brand guidelines, and now you start to create content and copy that other people will see outside of your business. So when you come to set up an optimization, it includes at least your website and your social media. It probably also includes your newsletter. You're trying to make everything look and sound the way that you want and optimize it to achieve the goals that you want to achieve, link everything that needs to be linked. And you can also set up and optimize other platforms that you use online, like Fiverr if you sell services, or Etsy if you sell products. I'm not going to go into detail in terms of newsletter because I'm not an expert on that, but I'm going to tell you a bit about website and social media, just to give you an idea of what this step sounds like. So in terms of your website, setting up your website, two major pillars to always have in mind are SEO and accessibility. So in terms of SEO, I don't have time to give you everything that I'd like to give you. Keyword research is essential, and then making sure that you use your keywords intentionally, don't stuff them in, but use them in your headings and all that, and making sure you get links to your website from other trustworthy websites as well. But I don't have time to give you a course on SEO, obviously. And then accessibility, just making sure that everyone has access to your website. And that includes making sure your files are small so that people with low internet connection can access everything. It includes having colors that have good contrast so that people without with visual disability can see them. And it also includes alt tags for people who can't see to read what's in each image. It also includes having easy to read text so that people with cognitive disabilities can read your text as well. And this is to be used throughout. Throughout all your online presence, make sure everything is accessible to everyone. Okay, so in terms of different steps, you always keep in mind SEO and accessibility, but in terms of different steps, the first is to think about which pages you want your website to include. So that includes your home page is usually the top of your page hierarchy, but then when you are deciding your pages, you are probably going to want some category pages for your different categories of products and services. So those are the second level of your hierarchy. And then you have the product pages, so the individual product pages, and those usually come in the third level, so under your category pages. This is important for SEO so that you organize where each of your keywords go and you don't repeat them, and you write copy that aligns with those different pages and what their content is. It's good to have the picture of all the pages that you are going to write from the beginning before you actually write them, just so you don't repeat yourself and you actually know what goes into each page. Then think a little about what content you would like to have in your website. So that includes mostly blog posts that you are going to produce for your website. It's good, again, to have it in mind before you start writing your website, because then when you write your website, you already know what's going to be in that section later on. And then when you have like the plan, again, as you see, you plan everything before. Now you have the page hierarchy, you have the content plan, and now you start writing it. So you start writing the different pages that you've decided before. You write at least a draft of what goes into them. And after you've written them, at least the first draft, it's subject to a lot of change in the web and graphic design section. But when you go into the web and graphic design section, you just take the draft that's just text and design it so that it looks appealing and that people can scroll through easily and all that. This is the part where I think you could consider outsource stuff, because either it is graphic design or web design or web development, because it's more technical, it's a bit harder to do for a lot of people. But if you feel confident about doing it yourself, definitely do it. There are tools out there to help you that make it easier. It's harder when it is e-commerce than when it is just a static website without too much interaction with them from the visitor with the web page. Okay, so after you do the web and graphic design, or even during it, it's time for the integrations, and that just means connecting other third-party providers with your website. So that could be for the contact form, for the newsletter sign-up form, for the payment method. Depending on the tool that you're using, it could be very easy or it could be more complicated. If you have a web developer working with you, they will take care of it for you, most probably, so you won't have to worry about it. But if you're doing it yourself, then this is the stage where you'd do that. Okay, and now in terms of setting up your social media, you could think about search as well, using the right keywords and all that in social media. But I think that if I just have to select two pillars, it would be creating content that is community driven. So creating content that the people that will follow you will benefit from. It's not about showcasing you and your business. It's about helping them and bringing them together as a community as well, facilitating conversations between them and with you as well. And again, accessibility, always. So when you always have those in mind while doing the others, but what comes into setting up your social media is, again, thinking about your content. What are you planning on putting out there? You need to think about that before you write your bio or whatever else. So think about what content you want to put out there and when. Then research a bit about hashtags. Depending on your platform, they could be more or less important, but always research a bit about hashtags, the hashtags that you want to use, and when you want to use each of them. Having a list of hashtags before you start publishing your posts is very useful, because it's quicker than to just post every day. If you have a list of hashtags, so just copy and paste your hashtags from. So then you have your plan, you have your hashtag guidelines or whatever you want to call them. You just write your bio, select your link, do your profile and cover images, configure in terms of messages, depending on your platform. Facebook, you need to do a bit of configuring of the messaging options. If you haven't yet, do your post design, so the templates that you want for your images to make it easier. So for example, you could have a template for quotes that you just change what's written there, and it's easier for you to then publish if you already have the background of the post and you just have to write on top of it. And then your pinned post, which is just a post that may have links, may have something that you want to highlight. You can go with many different ways, but have a post that is pinned on top of your profile with the first thing that you want people to get when they get to your profile. If you're on Instagram, that it would be the highlights that are right under your bio and your link. Okay, so now you've set everything up, and it's time, including your newsletter that I didn't talk about, and now it's time to go on to the ongoing actions, which is just the regular posting and messaging and all that. Oh, okay, where, if it's possible to see a record. Okay, before I get on, because I know we're getting near the 2 hours, but it's the last point as well. But the recording is going to be available at republicofwork.com for the next 4 weeks. And okay, moving on. So ongoing actions is just the posting, replying, sharing, the managing that you need to do every day, every week, every month, those little actions that you need to do regularly. I divided them into 2 parts just to give you a few tips on how to make sure you achieve them. So the first are the isolated actions. These are actions that you don't need to do every day or every week. These are actions that are triggered by something. So for example, it could be when you get a Facebook message, you need to reply to it. So the reply to it is the action and is triggered by receiving the Facebook message. My suggestion for you to keep on top of it and not feel too reactive is to create deadlines for each action. So for example, you receive your Facebook message one day and you've decided that you're going to reply to Facebook messages within 24 hours. So you can insert in your calendar that the deadline. So 24 hours from when you first received it, you want to have it done. So when it's in your calendar or your to-do list, at least for me, it's easier for me to get to them instead of just having to constantly think about it to remember or just completely forget to reply to the messages. So that's my tip for isolated actions. And then for regular actions, like stuff that you need to do every day or every week or every month, I recommend doing them as habits. So that means doing them the same amount, the same time, the same day, always, so that it becomes second nature to you. Like you're so used to creating and posting a tweet every weekday after lunch that after lunch, you always pick up your phone to post a tweet and you don't even need to think about it anymore. It's second nature to go there and just do it. So that's how I approach regular actions, and I recommend you to do. It doesn't have to be something as regular as every weekday. For example, another example that I put here, it could be creating and publishing a blog post every Friday, first thing in the morning, for example. That could be a regular action as well. So it's always in the same day at the same time. It just becomes something you do. You don't have to decide to do it. It's just something that you do. Okay, just quickly, a few ongoing actions that I recommend to do in general, but some of these may not apply to you, but in general. So in terms of managing your website, you'll need to update your existing products and services pages. You'll also need to add new products and services pages as they come, and create seasonal pages for your products and services. So for example, Christmas offers, Valentine's Day offers. And you can also create and publish blog posts, obviously. So the first two, in terms of your products and services pages, are triggered by new products and services or new developments to the existing ones. And the last two are regular. So you just always have them on repeat on your calendar, and you always do them at the same time, just to never forget about them. In terms of managing your social media, obviously just creating and posting social media posts, but that's not all. Then you also need to reply to everything that comes your way. So not everything if you have a lot coming in, but if you don't, then reply to everything. That includes messages, comments, and reviews, depending on your platform. So engaging with people, you never know what stage of the funnel they are in, but you want to reply so that you get them further down the funnel. And finally, just engaging with other social media profiles to get in front of those audiences as well, and to build a community of like-minded professionals and businesses and people that can support each other. So that could be through commenting, sharing, liking, retweeting, whatever, depending on the platform. Just making sure you engage in a meaningful way as well, where you add to the conversation and you help people with your engagement as well. I didn't talk about setting up your newsletter, which includes the sign-up forms and the automated flows and all that. But in terms of ongoing actions, the minimum is just to create and send the newsletters on a regular basis, if that's what your newsletter works like. And then in terms of managing your PR relations, public relations PR, then I'd recommend you to send out press releases when you have something new to update the community on, something that's newsworthy, creating and exchanging guest posts with other blogs. So this is very important to create links to your website, like I told you about in terms of SEO. When you exchange guest posts with someone else, you write a post for their blog, and they will include a link to your blog in the post that you've written for them. So you create a link for your blog that way. And you always create exposure for you on that different blog. And finally, just collaborating with influencers, but that depends on your business. So it could make sense or not for your business, depending. But if it's product-based, then possibly you need to think about it and research or contact someone who can deal with influencers for you. Finally, so you have all these actions that you need to do every month, but you've scheduled them, you've organized your schedule, and it's not that overwhelming because of that. But every month you are doing them, and you are collecting information on how they do as well throughout the month. And at the end of the month, you review everything and you adapt going on to the next month. So that next month things are even more optimized, and people can engage with you in a more meaningful way even than the month before. And that's it. So I know we're on 2, so I didn't go over time. I didn't have time to summarize, but it's basically the framework that we've talked about. And if you want to contact me with questions, I know we didn't get too many questions now. So if you want to contact me with questions, you can email me at alexandra@apmarketing.ie. But like I said, Angie is going to send you my contact details. And if you ask her, she's also going to give you the slideshow so that you can refer to. And you can check the recording on republicofwork.com for 4 weeks. And how can you find me on social media? I'm only on Twitter and LinkedIn. Angie is going to share with you my LinkedIn. You can check me on Twitter at apmarketing.ie, and my personal Twitter is there as well in the bio. Okay, thank you. You're very welcome. And thank you for your support in the chat as well throughout the talk.